SparkToro and Really Good Data tested 11 different social media platforms to try to measure how Google Analytics actually attributed the referral sources. So, unfortunately, that data is massively flawed. If you use social media in your marketing strategy, or if you're a social media marketing manager that works with clients who care about their analytics, you need to see what the study found. Hello and welcome to my channel. I always try to put important links in the pinned comments and love to hear from listeners what I should talk about next. So make sure you subscribe, like, and participate however you think is best. Thanks so much, and now let's jump in. Just real quick before we jump in, if you're not familiar with what the term direct traffic means, a lot of people think it means when someone types your URL or web address directly in the web browser bar to get to your website. And that is typically a large part of where your direct traffic comes from. But direct traffic is, according to Google, really anything that it can't find a true attribution or other referral source for. It'll lump in as a direct traffic source. And ideally, if people are typing your URL into the search bar to get to your website, or they're bookmarking your site to get to your site, those are good things, right? That means your branding and marketing are working. People are remembering you and people are seeking out your website. But how much of our direct traffic is really from people doing that versus coming from another source like a social media network, and Google's just not able to attribute it properly? It just lumps it in with the direct traffic source. We're going to look at this study and see some of the shocking numbers that SparkToro and Really Good Data found. And if you stick through to the end, I'm going to give you my tips on how you can reduce some of that fluff or not so ideal direct traffic misattribution. Let's jump into the study. I'm going to post the link to this article in the description and the pinned comment. I totally recommend checking it out, and also recommend checking out SparkToro. I love their content. So not only should you check out this specific article if you want to take a closer look at some of the graphs and charts, but you should just browse some of their content and even their service if you're interested in wondering what your ideal audiences are doing online. So here we are. New research. Dark socials falsely attribute significant percentages of web traffic as direct. And you'll notice Rand Fishkin is the author. He's the co-founder of SparkToro, and he also shares a lot of really interesting and impactful content from other creators in the space. So if you're on Twitter, you're trying to get on Twitter, this is a good person to follow for keeping up with daily insights in this field. Let's go back to his article because it's really good. All right, so he starts by saying when site owners and marketers log onto their analytics tools to determine how visitors discover and reach their properties, they expect accurate information. And now I'm going to pause there because, again, this study we're going to see is using Google. And that's a major tech company. If you ask people to name a tech company, Google's probably one of the first few people will suggest. Like if it was a Family Feud game or something, it'd be on the board. And if you're a social media marketer working with clients who are looking at their Google Analytics and seeing that direct traffic is getting way more traction than anything referred from socials, it's an uphill battle to try to convince people or mention to people that the data might not be as accurate as it seems. So keep that in mind. That's one of the reasons that what we're going to read is really, really important, both for your own business if you use social media as part of your marketing strategy, and for anyone that's working as a social media marketing manager with clients that take Google Analytics for exactly what they say. And Fishkin continues on here. So unfortunately, that data is massively flawed. SparkToro partnered with Really Good Data in a recent experiment to drive 1,000 visits across 11 major social networks and observe how Google Analytics categorize these referrals. We're going to summarize here the key points in what this study found. So number one, 100% of all visits from TikTok, Mastodon, Discord, and WhatsApp were marked as direct and contained no other referral information. So imagine you're someone that's really embraced the TikTok strategy and you're wondering like, okay, these videos are getting tens of thousands of plays and I'm telling people to check my bio to go visit my website. And then I'm going to my Google Analytics and I'm not seeing really any needle being moved from TikTok or any of these other platforms. Discord is a huge platform in the gaming community, as well as sports and the world of NFTs. So if you're in this industry, this is huge for you. And similarly with WhatsApp, if you find something really valuable that you know someone that really needs to see this, you're going to send them a Facebook message, or you're going to send them a DM on Twitter, or you're going to send them a text message, or you're going to send them a WhatsApp message. So for WhatsApp not to have attribution here at all kind of obscures something really important, right? Because if someone's clicking a link from a message someone shared to them on WhatsApp, that's really good social word of mouth, right? That means this person saw the content and decided to share it privately to a friend, and that friend read the message and decided to click it. And Google has no idea about any of those steps in the attribution process. All it says is direct traffic, and the average person is going to conclude that, hey, someone typed my web address in the URL bar. Key finding number two, 75% of visits from Facebook Messenger contain no referral information. And they note that this doesn't seem strictly related to browser choice, device type, or web versus app. So the first thing to note here is there's 25% of visits from Facebook Messenger that are getting some type of proper attribution in Google Analytics. So that's different from what we're seeing with WhatsApp and any of the other platforms above. And when I was reading the second point here about this does not appear strictly related to browser choice, device type, or web app, at first I read this to think like, oh, well, maybe the data I'm reading for the other platforms does vary depending on the browser choice or device type. But I don't think that that's what this means. I think this is just an extra clarification that whether you use the desktop native Facebook Messenger right within Facebook, or you're using the Messenger app, which opens separately from Facebook, there was only 75% of attribution on average across any device type or web versus app. So it's my best guess that this point about Facebook Messenger does not mean that device type made a difference for these other data points on other platforms. For key finding 3, Instagram messages or DMs, as well as public LinkedIn and Pinterest posts, also miss substantial portions of referral data. So 30% of Instagram messages were marked as direct traffic instead of having any referral data. 14% of links clicked through public LinkedIn posts did not have any referral data and were marked as direct traffic. And 12% of traffic from Pinterest posts was lumped in with direct traffic. I know people that have made their strategy almost entirely about positioning themselves as a thought leader on LinkedIn or using Pinterest to promote blog posts and articles on their content sites. So 14 and 12% might not seem that significant, especially since we just looked at numbers like 100% and 75%. But if the bulk of your business comes from one of these sources and 12 to 14% of it is not attributed, that's kind of significant. And key finding number 4, a smaller amount of traffic was misattributed to direct by Reddit posts, LinkedIn messages, which are DMs, and Twitter DMs. And I think this is an important place to stop and mention. We'll read this in a little detail further down with the methodologies. But in the data points that we're looking at so far, they're not clicks that are coming from URL shorteners, right? So sometimes with Twitter, people will create redirects to make really short links, and that will redirect to the link that it's supposed to actually go to, or someone will actually be sharing some type of syndication of an original post. So the URL won't be the canonical page or post itself, which are extra layers that can cause direct traffic misattribution because the referrer gets lost, right? Google can't get any information on the referrer anywhere down the food chain. But in this study, those things weren't issues. They weren't using URL shorteners. They weren't testing link clicks from syndications or reshares through other outlets. It was all links from the website itself. So keep that in mind. And if that doesn't really click just yet, it'll make more sense when we talk about the methodologies and also my tips for fixing excessive direct traffic attribution. And then the last of the key findings that Fishkin highlights here is that YouTube, public Instagram profile links, public Facebook posts, and tweets appear, for now, in parentheses, to provide referral data in most or all cases. Now, Fishkin, was that for now just about Twitter? Because why are you singling out Twitter like that? But anyway, this is really great to know. And it's not that shocking that YouTube attribution is accurate, right? Google probably wants you to know when its platform is bringing you web traffic, because that means you'll put more time into YouTube and maybe start spending some ad dollars, some big ad budget on YouTube advertising and creating more content for YouTube so they can get more people on the platform to watch more advertising. So that's not really that shocking. But I do think it's really nice to know that public Instagram profile links are correctly attributed. But I do want to point out here that if your public Instagram profile link, your bio, links to something like a link tree or a directory or a vanity URL, that doesn't mean that this point applies. So remember, for this test, the purpose of this study, they're testing links directly to one of the pages or posts on the test site that they created to do this. They aren't testing if you can click a link directory service link and then still carry the refer attribution correctly through after someone goes through your link directory and then clicks that link in the link directory. If you're using a link directory, it doesn't necessarily mean that someone clicking your link tree in bio and then clicking a link within your link tree is getting correctly attributed. And because a lot of those companies offer premium subscription, paid subscriptions for you to get the insights on your clicks and referral sources, I kind of suspect that a lot of them use no referrer parameters for their free accounts. So if you're using a link directory service, that way you have one link with all your links in your Instagram bio, you should give this some consideration and maybe even consider building your own link directory webpage. Just yoururl.com/links, setting up your own home base, recreating your own link tree, and then you get to own that traffic and have finer control over how anywhere on that directory page would be attributed by Google. And a second point there, which I'm really happy is happening, is 10 days ago, Mark Zuckerberg announced that in response to it being one of the most popular requests, Meta is rolling out a new feature that's going to allow users to put 5 URLs in their Instagram profiles. And that's huge. That's 5 times the amount you can put there now. And Fishkin summarizes these data points exactly as I would. He says, in summary, website owners and marketers should expect that a large portion of traffic marked as direct in their analytics was likely sent by these networks. He also notes that dark social is a real ongoing phenomenon with problematic consequences for those who take their analytics reporting at face value. Now, one of my favorite things about this article is their methodology was kind of fun to read. So I can see them putting this into practice. They came up with a really thoughtful way to accomplish this in a practical way, and then they did it. So for years, myself and many others have speculated that in most cases, and for a lot of types of websites out there, the percentages attributed to direct traffic really obscured the influence of referral traffic. So to see them say, all right, well, we're actually going to test this. How can we test this? And then they did it. And then they provided the really valuable insights with us. It's so huge. Again, they're full of insights all the time. Anyway, have really great content, but go check out Rand Fishkin on Twitter. Check out Really Good Data. Check out Steve Lamar on LinkedIn. I also love every time I see SparkToro's VP of Marketing pop up on my timeline. You can follow her at Amanda Nat, N-A-T, on Twitter. But let's roll through their methodology. So in order to conduct this research, Steve Lamar of Really Good Data set up 16 unique URLs on a subdomain with no other website links, traffic sources, or previous activity. He installed Google Analytics 4 and UA and built countdown timers on the pages to ensure that the experiment participants would stay on the pages long enough to trigger a visit in the analytics system. So that's a little nugget right there. Each page used a unique identifier in the URL to indicate a particular network and traffic type. And then they give the example of /Facebook or /Facebook Messenger. They're using URL slugs rather than UTM parameters. They note that in this way, as URLs were shared, website analytics could record the visited page even when referral data was lacking. So a visitor sent the link via Facebook Messenger could only land on the URL slug Facebook-Messenger. And even if that visit lacked any referral data on Google Analytics end, for the purposes of the study, they were still able to know where the click or visit came from. That's really smart thinking, right? It seems really simple because they've already done it, but in preparing for the study, for them to think to do that was really wise. Rand Fishkin of SparkToro then worked with Steve to create public posts, comments, profile links, communities, subreddits, etc., on each of the networks with links to the associated URLs. We did this somewhat sequentially, only sharing the private DM/messaging URLs via those networks and after the public URL test, which minimized the risk of cross-contamination or spread from one network/referral type to another. Finally, Rand and Steve then privately recruited a panel of about 100 experiment participants, so thanks all you guys, via email and text messages, and asked each to visit the various pages from the associated network or source. And in the next section, they take a deeper dive into the data, the total numbers, and all the spreadsheets they accumulated. They broke it down really nice and clean. The links are going to be in the description, so make sure you show them some love and stay on their page long enough for them to get a nice traffic hit from you. Don't bounce. And then they talk about their takeaways, right? And so I am on the same page with them. I totally agree. And Fishkin says it beautifully. If you're a marketer or website owner reliant on analytics platforms, and they note here too, Google Analytics or anything else, right? So we can assume that this carries over. If something's not referring something to Google Analytics, there's a good chance Bing Analytics aren't going to pick up the referrer either. So back to the takeaways. If you're a marketer or website owner reliant on analytics platforms to provide accurate, comprehensive information about where your visitors came from and how they found your website, we recommend revisiting those assumptions. And I agree. And if you agree, and if you are going to revisit your analytics or mention this to someone else who you know is interested in analytics, drop a comment. Like, does this feel like validation or vindication? For some of you, let me know, because it feels like vindication for me. I feel vindicated. A substantial portion of social referral traffic comes without proper, accurate referral data and is misclassified as direct. If you're attributing all direct visits to type in visitors, email, text message, offline brand campaigns, or dark search, which is when a search engine fails to pass on referral data, you're almost certainly undercounting the impact of social media marketing, social referrals, and word of mouth on social networks. Even more seriously, if you're in a sector with heavy use from private communities and messaging groups like Slack, Discord, Facebook Messenger, and WhatsApp, or one whose demographics are likely to use or send traffic via TikTok or Mastodon, you're probably missing these channels entirely. So remember at the beginning, these channels were missing 100% or 75% of their refer data. That's huge. So earlier I mentioned the gaming industry, people in the NFT space. So anyone working with Web3 that frequents things like Discord. WhatsApp is used for a lot of e-commerce. TikTok is used by course creators and influencers that sell products. So what this study shows matters a lot to people that rely on these types of platforms. And then the article goes on. For those investing in proactive social media marketing, we recommend using unique URLs to track activity to social promotions, though you should probably keep them more subtle than the URL format we employed here. But they know, and I think most of us can agree, don't expect this to fully solve the problem. When others share your work, they're unlikely to be diligent about employing precise social attribution URLs and parameters across the precise networks you'd want. So long story short, the internet is a messy place. Attribution will be wrong sometimes, lost other times, and always imperfect. And then Fishkin finishes his write-up on this study and the research by saying they want to see more data and look at more sources in the future. And they note that if you run something like this, let them know, and they can potentially include links to your work here. So if this is something that you tinker away with, you have some insight on, SparkToro is a great place to get a backlink from. They're great people to connect with. Get onto SparkToro.com, reach out to them, connect with Rand Fishkin on Twitter, reach out to him there, and see if you can collaborate, because I'm sure we'd all be interested in it, and you'd get to work with some really cool people. And before I run through some simple tips to make sure less of your referral traffic falls through the cracks into that direct traffic bucket, I do want to emphasize one more time that direct traffic is not inherently bad. In fact, if you're reasonably sure that most of your direct traffic is accurately direct traffic, I think it's something you should be proud of. This means people are seeking your site out, they're bookmarking it, they're coming back to it. Or if you read your URL out loud to somebody, or whether in a podcast or in person, you were all stuck in their head and they were able to remember it when they wanted to pull your site up later. So by no means do I think that we should look at direct traffic attribution with a doomsday lens. But like with anything else in marketing or data or life in general, sometimes it's good to evaluate things for what they are and see if maybe there's ways you can make refinements and improvements. So before we close out, here's some of my speedy tips to help you reduce the amount of no refer information that falls into the direct traffic bucket when it is coming from a valid referral source or share. Number 1, check your Google Analytics code to make sure it's set up properly on your site. Number 2, make sure your Google Analytics is tracking all relevant subdomains. You can check this by going to the property you set up in your Google Analytics dashboard for your website. 3, avoid using vanity URLs for redirects. 4, set up UTM parameters. 5, check your backlinks for websites that refer to you using a rel no refer attribute. Consider reaching out to those sites or those authors and asking them to allow the refer. And number 6, make sure your website is set up on HTTPS. Otherwise, if someone's visiting your website from an HTTPS website that's referring to you and they click their link on it, but your website is HTTP, the refer is not going to get passed along and it's going to fall into the direct traffic bucket. If your URL says HTTP with no S when you're visiting your own website, you'll want to go check with your hosting provider about setting up an SSL certificate. In my 20-minute website setup video, I go over how to do this with Cloudways hosting, and I'll link to that video in the description or the pinned comment as well. But if you pay someone to manage your website, ask them about it. They should have set this up for you. But yeah, if you have a lot of backlinks out there coming from authoritative websites, they're probably on HTTPS. And if you're not, you're losing all that referral data. So you're getting direct traffic when you don't need to be. And you should probably have an SSL certificate set up anyway. But anyway, those tips are by no means exhaustive. They're just ways you can help reduce the amount of fluff that falls into your direct traffic attribution pool. I know that was a lot of information. What do you think? Have you ever looked at your direct traffic metrics? Like, are that many people really typing my URL into the address bar, or is Google just getting it wrong? I don't feel like I'm alone. Maybe I am. Let me know. And again, I'm so grateful to SparkToro and Rand Fishkin and Really Good Data and Steve Lamar. Here's my candidly casual endorsement of them. I've got other how-tos and videos in the pipeline, but I really thought their work was so important to highlight. So stay tuned for those other videos. If there is something I can help explain in greater detail, let me know. I'm used to doing branding and marketing behind closed doors, and I'm really excited to start teaching what I know on a public platform, but I'm still in the beginning of my learning curve. So let me know if there's something you'd like me to talk about, and if I can do it, I'll do it. But until next time, have a great rest of your day and happy brand hacking.